Hello there everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Library News. I am your friendly librarian, and today I'm feeling pretty energetic, relaxed, all around refreshed from this nice 3-day weekend that we just had. Which is, of course, we are calling fall break this year. But you don't need to think too hard to remember that we've always had the second Monday in October off, and it used to be called Columbus Day. So the name has changed and is changing all across the country because of a debate that has been going for decades now about whether or not Christopher Columbus is actually a hero and whether or not he deserves to be honored with a holiday and with statues all across the country. And in fact, whether it is a legal process to remove a statue or a group of people that illegally tears down a statue, both of which we've been seeing lots of in the last few years, Christopher Columbus statues are a #1 target. All right, now, if you've been paying attention to the library news this year, and that's a big if, thank you. Thank you to the one person who has been. I appreciate that. You probably already know that a major goal that I've set out, a purpose for doing this, is to help build empathy through understanding and through reading. So it is really important, and I'm always encouraging you to evaluate a variety of perspectives and to represent diverse perspectives in our conversations here so that you can decide for yourself. So today we're going to dive in a little bit. I want to share with you the two sides of the Christopher Columbus debate, as well as some materials that you can check out to read more and learn more about this. Those who would argue in favor of Christopher Columbus having a national holiday tend to have these as their reasons for doing so. First is that he discovered America. This is something that many people learned growing up. You may have even learned the song, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Either that or you think I'm ridiculous, but we definitely learned that song growing up. Others see him as a very brave explorer who, in a time when it wasn't necessarily known that the world was round, he sailed to a new world. And then over the years, this is more of a modern viewpoint, they say that Christopher Columbus represents Italian heritage. And so the celebration of Columbus Day is really a celebration of Italian heritage. Those who would argue that Christopher Columbus does not deserve a holiday would say that he did not technically discover America. So there's two major reasons. First being that he never actually landed on the North American continent where the United States is. He landed in the Caribbean on islands. And then perhaps more importantly, wherever he landed and where we are now, there were indigenous people, Native Americans already there. So how could you have discovered a place where there are already people? And then the other major argument is that Christopher Columbus famously mistreated the indigenous people in the places where he landed. He introduced slavery to the continent, killed many of them, brought over European diseases, and because of this, they say that he's in fact a genocidal murderer, not a hero, and does not deserve to be honored. All right, so a few questions to consider and making up your mind about Christopher Columbus. First of all, did he in fact discover America? Or in general, was his journey beneficial to the advancement of society? The other question is, how did he treat indigenous people, and is that becoming of a hero? And then the last question is, again, going off of his treatment of people, you know, was he in fact a monster? Was he a cruel person, or was he simply a product of his time period and the viewpoints of his time period? And we're going to dive into those with some great resources right now. For those interested in learning more about Christopher Columbus, we have several biographies on him in this library. And the cool thing about these biographies is that they span the decades. So we have this one from the 1960s, and then we have more recent ones getting into the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And so you can actually see the perspective on Columbus evolving as these books are being published. So in this one, the importance of Christopher Columbus, they note in 1992 is where they credit the conversation starting about how Christopher Columbus's history has been taught and whether it is limited or biased to a European point of view. This one from the 1960s, though, is actually really cool and very detailed. So if you look in here, it's got all sorts of pictures and illustrations of artifacts from his time period, the ships that they sailed over in, the journey, the voyage that they took, drawings of the crew, journal entries from Columbus himself, and a really, really detailed account of his life, his journey, where he went, what struggles they faced to get there, which were very many. And also his contributions to European culture. So even if you don't see Christopher Columbus as the first person arriving on this continent and therefore discovering it, you certainly can make the case that his voyage opened up this new world to Europe and set up the first colony and paved the way for the colonization that followed. All right, now in many places where the name Columbus Day is no longer being used, they've instead changed it to Indigenous Peoples Day. And the idea is to celebrate, rather than the conqueror, Columbus, celebrate the conquered, the Native Americans who were already there, who hence deserve credit for discovering that territory. So if you're interested in learning more about this perspective, one of the best books you can read is A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. This is one of the most famous books of all time because whereas traditionally American history was taught from a limited European point of view, this was one of the first major publications to tell American history from the point of view of slaves, from the point of view of women, and Native Americans, and other marginalized groups throughout our history. There are also books that we've got that talk about Native American history and culture, and especially major figures, such as this one, Sitting Bull, and other legendary Native American chiefs. And so you can learn more about their heroes and decide if those are the people that we should be celebrating in October. Right, and then we also have some other books that sort of fall in the middle. So for instance, this one is called Columbus and the World Around Him. So this one offers a pretty unbiased view of Christopher Columbus. But what's really interesting about this one is, as you can tell from the subtitle, is that it's not just about Christopher Columbus. It's about the world that he lived in. It's about that culture. So this can help you decide that last question, whether Columbus's worldview and his treatment of indigenous people was really just a product of the world he grew up in, and you can explore that by learning more about what the world was like at that time. And lastly, if you check on our website in online reading and resources, a database called the Middle High School ebook subscription database has a great book on it called Columbus, Hero or Villain, that really dives into this debate and offers a comprehensive view of both sides. So I am absolutely encouraging you to check out some of these books or other resources online to learn a little bit more about Christopher Columbus, to learn more about Native Americans and this debate in order to make an informed decision. But no matter which side you fall on, the important thing is to be informed and to understand both perspectives so that you can respect and show empathy towards people even if they have a different viewpoint than you. That's all I've got for the library news today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week, and in the meantime, this is your friendly librarian saying peace out.